Holman Hunt's painting, The Light of the World, was at one time extremely well known, even revered. It was absorbed into the public consciousness in a remarkable way. Arthur Sullivan, of Gilbert and Sullivan, wrote an oratorio inspired by the painting, though little performed now. Holman Hunt began the work around 1850, and it was completed in 1853. It was given to Keble College, Oxford, by Martha Combe, who, along with her husband Thomas, were great patrons of the Pre-Raphaelites. Martha wanted the painting hung in Keble Chapel, not an unreasonable request given the subject matter, but the college's architect, William Butterfield, was vigorously opposed to this and made no provision for it in his design of the chapel. The painting ended up in the library, hung above some hot water pipes, and the college charged visitors a penny to come and see it. This rather infuriated Holman Hunt. He had begun work on a second, smaller version of the painting, now in Manchester City Art Gallery, around the same time that he was finishing the original. But towards the end of his life, in response to Keble's neglect of the painting, he started work on a much larger version, now in St. Paul's Cathedral. It was this last version of the painting that went on a grand tour of the Commonwealth, and so became fixed in the religious imagination of generations. An estimated 4/5 of Australia's population turned out to see the painting. As the rowdy crowds jostled to see it, a sense of awe overtook them. Men removed their hats, and silence descended. In Toronto, the painting was exhibited in a room on its own, draped in crimson cloth, with a strong light shining on it, while the rest of the room was in darkness. As it toured the empire, seeing this painting was a religious act, and not just a cultural one. Artistic tastes change. The Pre-Raphaelites are not as fashionable as they used to be. We think they are a bit sentimental, a bit soppy, so it is hard to imagine the religious fervour that The Light of the World inspired. When people come to Keble today, they don't have to pay a penny to see it as they did in the 1870s, and, a little ironically, they would have to pay a rather larger sum to see it in St. Paul's. And the painting does hang in the chapel, or rather in the side chapel, which was created in the 1890s, and without Butterfield's consent. But I have to say, few people today would say that to see this painting was a religious experience, in the way they might have done in Canada or Australia at the turn of the 20th century. People remember it fondly, a print on the wall of their classroom or their grandparents' house, a postcard in the family Bible. But in my experience, few people find seeing it transformative. I think there are a number of reasons for that. As I mentioned, the Pre-Raphaelites are not all that fashionable these days. We are suspicious of Victoriana, of sentimental medievalism. Tragic heroines, pallid with long flowing hair, just aren't our cup of tea. More than that, we kick against the moralising and didactic, and The Light of the World is hardly a subtle painting. It is an allegory. The text around the frame of the painting is from the book of Revelation. "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him, and will sup with him, and he with me." The door is the human soul. It is shut, the nails are rusty, the threshold is overgrown, the ivy shows that it hasn't been opened in a long time. The apples rotting on the ground are a symbol of decay, the wood in the background, sinister and foreboding. And to this door, Christ comes in the darkness. He wears the white robe, the cloak and jewelled breastplate of the priest, the crown of a king twisted together with the crown of thorns. Christ carries the lantern, casting its bright light on the shut door. He waits for the door to be opened. The question Holman Hunt asks us seems obvious. Are we going to open the door to Jesus? It is often said of the painting that as the sun goes down, time is running out for us to respond to the invitation, to the knock on the door. He waits, but soon Jesus will pass by. The lantern will no longer cast its light, and the door of the human soul will be plunged into darkness. This is, I think, a misunderstanding, and another of the reasons we have relegated it to the piety of another age. What Holman Hunt offers us is quite different, a much more nuanced and theological vision. For this is not night, it is not the encircling gloom. Rather, it is the dawn, it is daybreak. The Pre-Raphaelites rejected the contemporary emphasis on strong light and dark shading inherited from the old masters. Instead, they pioneered something called the wet white ground technique, which gives the vibrant, luminous colours for which they were known. And this is clear in the light we see here. While he was painting the light of the world, Holman Hunt travelled to the Holy Land, and it was only there, as he saw the sun rising over Bethlehem, that he knew how to finish his painting. It is fitting, then, that the dawn we have is a Bethlehem dawn, for it is in Bethlehem, in the birth of a baby 2,000 years ago, that the day spring from on high has come. We see it too in the piercing light of the herald of the dawn, the morning star just above Christ's halo. In Revelation, Jesus says, "I am the bright morning star." And it is a symbol of our hope in 2 Peter 1:19. We await the time when the day dawns and the morning star rises in our hearts. In the great proclamation of Easter, as the Easter candle is blessed, we sing, "Grant that this Easter candle may make our darkness light. For Christ, the morning star, has risen in glory. Christ is risen from the dead." This painting is a reminder to us of the hope we have, that light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. It is more than a pessimistic assessment of the human soul, overgrown, sealed shut, as Jesus waits patiently for an answer. The lantern may pass from sight, but the door of the human soul will never again be left in darkness and shadows. Rather, in Christ, the clear light of day has come, and it is here to stay.